coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio. This is Talking Politics, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022, as well as the sworn enemy of all the local social justice clowns, woke fools, toxic progressives, and climate hysterics in Hudson County, and of course statewide. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July holiday. I sure did. Got to spend it with family and friends and got to enjoy the fireworks in downtown Jersey City. And without a doubt, get my drink on there as shout out to all the local liquor stores there along Montgomery Street, right by Exchange Place, making liquor accessible and affordable during the festivities. So shout out to them and to everyone who had a safe holiday celebrating the 246th birthday of the greatest country on this planet. Yes, folks, it's always the US of A. And of course, there's always a lot to discuss here, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. And folks, I have to just tell you that it never ceases to amaze me, whether it's at the local level, statewide, or even national, there's never a shortage of virtue signaling. And of course, it took place in Hudson County's largest city, Jersey City, at the recent council meeting. So let me just break this down for you again, and a shout out to Dan Ulloa from the Hudson County View for his report on this story. Now, the Jersey City Council passed a pro-choice resolution declaring the city a, quote, right to choose sanctuary city for abortion rights in the wake of the U.S. Supreme Court decision, thus overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, the resolution also called for codifying the right to abortion in federal law through a bill in the U.S. House of Representatives called the Women's Health Protection Act of 2021. Now, according to Jersey Young Democrats Secretary Maxine Mandel, she said, over the weekend, we watched so many people in Jersey City protest the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Millions of women across the country feel unsafe and unsure of the future. We must send those women a message that Jersey City is indeed a safe place. In addition to that, Morgan Spahn also said, quote, black women and birthing people, Jesus Christ, birthing people, it's women. Who else are birthing? Am I going to birth someone? Of course not. Idiots, I swear. Are 7 times more likely to experience child mortality. We could do more to push that forward. Now, Jersey City held 3 rallies over the weekend to speak out against the Supreme Court's expected decision following a draft decision which leaked last month. One was hosted by no less than the Hudson County Democratic Socialists of America. Yes, grown adults who are openly telling you that they don't know anything about economics, biology, or science overall. And of course, another one by the Jersey Young Democrats, and another one by the 4 city councilwomen and Assemblywoman Angela McKnight out of the 34th Legislative District. Now, folks, let me just, obviously a great job here by Dan Ulloa, but here's another interesting thing here which really caught my eye. Isla Shermer, another member of the Jersey Young Democrats, said that the Supreme Court's decision, quote, stripped away human rights, and therefore my heart breaks for those living under quite different circumstances in support of local legislation. Well, folks, let me just say this, and you can always rely on those who are, on the left in Hudson County and statewide and nationally to virtue signal and hashtag because that's what they're good at. They can't ever come up with any good policies, so why not just play the perpetual victim card? So let me just unpackage this a little bit because I tried it last week, and in case you weren't paying attention, it seems like Professor Uribe has to, have a course here predicated on U.S. history or maybe even civics. Now, again, we celebrated the 246th birthday of the United States this past week, and subsequently, some years later, the U.S. Constitution would be signed and ratified, and subsequently we would see the birth of the Bill of Rights. And within the Bill of Rights, folks, again, the 10th Amendment clearly articulates federalism, aka states' rights. So whatever powers that are not articulated to the federal government in the Constitution are thus relegated to the states. Thus will give states autonomy. Okay, so again, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that maybe or have been, in a coma or not paying attention or not reading, we all know that what Roe versus Wade being overturned simply signifies is that abortion, A, is not been banned nationally. It simply means that it's relegated to the states, okay? Say it again for everyone at home. It's relegated to the states. Now, for example, and a very good chart that I came across would say that, which states would end abortion subsequently if Roe versus Wade was overturned, right? So here's sort of a breakdown nationally for you and just to get a better perspective. Now, states that subsequently are looking to ban abortion if they haven't done it already include the great states of Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, as well as Kentucky and Tennessee. Looks like Ohio and West Virginia, in addition to Michigan, Iowa, and both the Dakotas, North and South, as well as New Mexico, Utah, and Idaho. Now, again, states that are likely to ban abortion, but again, have not made a decision yet among the state legislatures, because again, that's what it boils down to, the state legislatures. Florida, Indiana, Montana, Wyoming, and Nebraska collectively. Now, there are states that subsequently are not expected to ban abortions at all, and they include Virginia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Vermont, etc. Now, states that, have abortion rights protected by law include New York across the river, here in New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, California, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. So clearly, it's a little bit of a spread out map in the country. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, that these are states that are choosing to do what they see fit. Those state legislatures are going to pursue whatever means that they feel will be applicable to reproductive rights, reproductive justice, abortion, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to virtue signal about or hashtag about. So when I see council people in Jersey City virtue signaling like this, it just makes me wonder, what exactly are you bitching and moaning about? Never mind the Democratic Socialists of America. I mean, these are wastes of life and useless humans. So I wouldn't even address what they have to think or say. But these are grown people, whether it's in the Jersey Young Democrats or those in the city council. Listen, you're entitled to your opinion. But understand something, that here in New Jersey, nobody's reproductive rights are ever going to be infringed upon, okay? Abortion has been codified into state law here in New Jersey, all right? So, again, if you're a woman, not a birthing person, a woman, right, with a uterus and ovaries, okay, and a birth canal, okay, those are things that correspond to a woman. I mean, do I have to teach biology as well here on this show? But nevertheless, if you as a woman get knocked up tomorrow and you have to sort of reconsider your pregnancy for whatever reason, you have access to abortion here in New Jersey. To say nothing of the fact that Trenton gives away millions of dollars to institutions like Planned Parenthood, right? Whether it's their chapters in Montclair or in Newark or in Patterson or, any urban area of New Jersey, take your pick, you'll probably see a Planned Parenthood somewhere there. All right? Or, for example, after maybe a drunken weekend, another drunken weekend, since it's single girl summer, right? And whatever bad decisions are made by ladies down the shore or elsewhere throughout the tri-state area. Well, guess what? On Monday morning when you wake up after your 2 or 3 or 4 nights of hangovers, guess what? A Plan B at your local Walgreens, CVS, and, I believe also, Duane Reade as well. I'm sorry. Guess what? It's easily accessible and affordable. And even if it isn't, that's what you have Planned Parenthood for, because it takes subsidies from taxpayer dollars. So no one's rights are being infringed upon. So when I see grown-ass men and women taking to the streets and, having a meltdown about Roe versus Wade and abortion, here in New Jersey and across the river in New York, you're fine. What you're basically bitching and moaning about is the access to terminate a pregnancy in states that you don't live in. I hate to break it to you ladies, and especially to all the guys, all the beta males out there that are having a meltdown too about this. Again, I just read you a chart about which states are allowing abortion and which are not. Again, folks, the 10th Amendment. Let these states govern themselves. You don't live there, so what in the world are you bitching and moaning about? I mean, it's mind-boggling to me to see the hysteria. All it's doing is great for fundraising. It's galvanizing Democrats to maybe try to get out the vote this year when they know they're going to lose the House and probably the Senate in an awful economy led by this disastrous presidency and a joke of a vice presidency, as well as gas prices, supply chains, you name it, folks. Whether it's costing you $400 more to do groceries this year, whether it's more expensive to fill up your tanks, hey, anything to distract from this disaster of an administration. I hate to break it to everybody on the left. Abortion, gun violence, gun rights, whatever, that's not going to distract from everyday pocket issues. So I get it. It's cute that the Jersey City Council wants to, have this window dressing of a ceremony or a resolution being passed, but it doesn't change anything. Okay? I love the wording, a pro-abortion sanctuary city, as if Jersey City isn't enough of a sanctuary city already, right? Like Jersey doesn't coddle illegals like a lot of other blue cities here in New Jersey. But again, folks, it's easier to virtue signal and hashtag and have your meltdown and have your tantrums and demand that as a mob, you get your way all the time. It's a sense of entitlement, folks, that is predicated on what the left feels is owed to them. Now, again, as I said before, You don't live in Florida, you don't live in Texas, you don't live in Alabama, you don't live in Mississippi or Missouri or Tennessee or Kentucky, okay? You shouldn't care what they do any more than they care about what we do here. Do you think people in Texas care that New Jersey just passed a 50-point-something billion dollar budget and keep spending and spending? And, oh, yeah, of course the governor and the legislature will say, oh, well, we're living in the time of a surplus. No, you're not living in a time of a surplus because of anything you did or any policies you've enacted or laws you've passed. It's because you got money from Washington. If you really wanted to have a surplus, you would cut out the fat in Trenton, but you chose not to do that. You continue to keep spending and spending and spending. So you think people in Texas care about that? No. Do you think that they care that we coddle illegals and that we give driver's licenses to illegals and that we can continue to cater to them at all points in time? Of course not. So don't worry about what Texas and Alabama are doing any more than they care about what New Jerseyans and New Yorkers are doing. And people in Jersey City need to get that through their thick heads because for whatever reason, you want to keep bitching and moaning, and in a midterm election year, when you know there's going to be a red tsunami and a red bloodbath coming to Washington, that's what you have to focus on. Everyday kitchen table issues. Not about pro-choice or reproductive rights or reproductive justice. Folks, that's what the left lives on. They virtue signal and they hashtag. But at the end of the day, it's the issues I talked about that matter in an election year. For whatever reason, whether it's the clowns of the Progressive Democrats of Hudson County, led by useless people like Hector Segarra, whether it's a New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice with another useless human like Amy Torres, or other insufferable activists, you just don't seem to learn your lesson. It's about meat potato issues in an election year, not about your virtue signaling, not about your woke nonsense, and not about hashtags. Sooner or later, you need to learn this because you're grown adults, and I'm tired of teaching this material every single week here. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. Now some local stories that have also statewide significance. And a shout out to Sophie Nieto Munoz from the New Jersey Monitor for her report on this story. Now, a pandemic aid program for tax-paying illegals, not what she chooses to call them because I don't believe in semantics, was excluded from the $50.6 billion state budget that took effect last week, despite Governor Murphy proposing $53 million in aid when he proposed this spending plan in March. Now, the governor's plan sought to give a one-time direct payment of $500 to about 80,000 households who file taxes with an individual taxpayer identification number and have not received other types of pandemic aid. Now, the numbers are typically used by immigrants who are not American citizens to file taxes since they do not have Social Security numbers. Now, no line item in the budget signed by the governor last week included any payment for illegals who pay taxes. Now, the Murphy administration said the program's exclusion from the budget does not mean it is not happening. Now, Christy Peace, a spokeswoman for the governor's office, said the governor remains committed to establishing the program he put forward in March to assist taxpayers affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and looks forward to doing so, quote, within the parameters of the budget. Now, the spending plan, though, ladies and gentlemen, provides an avenue for Murphy to spend federal pandemic aid, which came from Washington, without legislative approval. Now, lawmakers agreed to create a $300 million pot of federal funds for Murphy to use on COVID-19 relief. He can make one allocation of $60 million without seeking lawmakers' okay, but is limited to $20 million or less when spending the rest of the money. So, of course, to no one's surprise, the useless waste of life known as Amy Torres, the executive director of another useless left-wing organization, the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, says she was disappointed to see New Jersey's lack of investment in diverse populations, even after the calls to end structural inequality during the summer of 2020. Folks, what she's trying to basically do there is window dress and just say, well, you know what? Illegals didn't get their fair share of money. Well, boo-hoo, Amy. No one cares, much less myself. Now, she went on to say, somehow putting together some sort of coherent statement here, quote, our state needs help, needs deep investments in direct relief programs for the poor, the illegals, and the excluded, and must urgently update government tools like language access for responding to and preventing future crises. It will be up to history to decide whether it is cruelty or incompetence that those who suffered least in the last 2 years are reaping the most from New Jersey's historic surplus and federal relief dollars, as she told the New Jersey Monitor. Now, the Department of Human Services continued distributing money from the state's Excluded New Jerseyans Fund, which provides up to $4,000 to illegals and other residents ineligible for pandemic aid. So about half of the expected $60 million has been distributed to 13,000 residents. Now, advocates for illegal communities and progressive activists have been calling for a $1 billion fund for immigrants and their families. Again, folks, It's a reminder that those on the left never took an economics course and think that we just print money either in Trenton or in Washington. Again, that's how out of touch these idiots are. So, for example, State Senator Teresa Ruiz, and this is a shocker because she's as woke and left as it comes, who was seen as a champion for Latinos in the state legislature, did not comment specifically as to why the $53 million fund was excluded from the budget. I don't know, maybe Teresa talked to her colleagues and talked to her constituents and said, what are you doing here? Give taxpayer relief to homeowners, to citizens. And of course she heard, the whispers throughout the halls in Trenton. But says she is proud to see other investments that will help all families regardless of immigration status. She pointed to a new funding for schools constructions, the expanded child tax credit, and universal preschool expansions. Again, more wasteful spending out of Trenton. Again, folks, if you can't afford to have a baby, then don't have one. The idea that, the state or the federal government should be coddling you or paying for you because you can't afford your kids, well, how is that my problem? Okay? Be responsible. If you can't have a kid, then don't have one. Again, folks, it goes back to here in New Jersey. If you have to reconsider your pregnancy, there's plenty of access to it. Okay? If after a long weekend of single girl summer, binge drinking, and you need a plan B on Monday morning, well, guess what? It's accessible. So ultimately, if you can't have kids and can't afford them, then don't have them. Okay? Be a little more selective about who you sleep with. Again, ladies, gentlemen, be careful. If you can't afford kids, do me a favor. Take the necessary measures. This is a PG-rated show here, so I don't want to get too graphic, but guys, you know what you need to do. Ladies, you know what you need to do as well. Now, quote also, she wanted to say, the best opportunity we have in here is that we have a pool of money that is secured for a rainy day and also a program moving forward. So whenever we need to revisit things and fund policies for the lives of every single New Jerseyan, that's what I'm committed to doing, as she also told the New Jersey Monitor. Well, again, that's really cute of the state senator to say that, but again, that's sort of covering her ass because let's be honest, folks, we all know that this is more wasteful spending coming out of the budget. And listen, I'm very happy about new schools being built because God knows that there are counties in New Jersey that desperately need new schools. Here in Hudson County, we have been extremely blessed, specifically where I live in the 33rd Legislative District, because my mayor is also my state senator. So Brian Stack has been fighting for years in Trenton to make sure that Hudson County, and at least the district and the schools here, get the necessary funding. Okay? We've had a brand new high school in the last decade or so in Union City. We've had new schools such as the Colin Powell School and other great institutions of learning in Union City. We're also seeing, obviously, additions to other schools within the district and making sure that schools can be paid for. We have new technology, more books. Hey, that's what matters here in Hudson County. So I'm so grateful to have legislators like Brian Stack here. But we all know that throughout the rest of the state, that's not always possible. Again, it's not an indictment of legislators, both Republicans and Democrats, but again, it's all about prioritization. Now, what parts of the state, what counties are going to get more money, that remains to be seen. Do we need more schools built? Absolutely. Folks, the population here in New Jersey is skyrocketing. Okay? It's growing exponentially. So yes, of course, more and more people are moving here, they're having children, and these children are going to school. So again, when we're talking about the state budget, if you want to come at me about, well, we're spending more money on schools, you're not going to hear a complaint about me. But when it comes to making sure that illegals don't get any more of our tax dollars, I'm all for that. Folks, this is the reality, okay? And I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to tell you the truth because someone has to in New Jersey media. We all know that people on NJPBS, the New Jersey Monitor, Insider NJ, NJ Spotlight News, all these other statewide websites are not going to tell you this. But shows like mine do. Folks, I'm a homeowner, and I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a citizen. I care about my fellow citizens, my fellow homeowners, and my fellow taxpayers getting some relief. I don't care about illegals. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. Hey, listen, I am the son of immigrants, first-generation immigrants who came here legally, who did things legally, who did things the right way. Hey, I'm sorry, folks. We have to be proactive here. Cost cutting, that's what I'm all about. Again, at the end of the day, Amy Torres and clowns like her can bitch and moan and scream until the cows come home, whatever that means, right? But at the end of the day, I care about helping citizens and taxpayers and homeowners. And more likely, illegals don't fit that category. So you know what? As far as money's concerned, it should go to where it's mostly deserved, to the group I mentioned, not to illegals. Now to another local story, again, with some statewide significance. And once again, a shout out to Sophie Nieto Munoz, for her report on this story via the New Jersey Monitor. Now, apparently there are 6 New Jersey municipal websites that tell marriage license applicants that they have to be of the opposite sex. So apparently there are different examples mentioned in the story, but one specifically nearby in Fairview Borough, which is right kind of on the border of North Bergen and within Hudson and Bergen County collectively, which talks about 2 people, both women, who went to the Borough Fairview website to obtain a marriage license. Now, of course, it added frustration to something they were really looking forward to. Now, same-sex couples, again, a little bit of history here, have been legally allowed to wed in New Jersey since 2013. Coincidentally, folks, when I was working for Hudson County TV and was hosting the Uribe Express, I actually interviewed the very first couple to obtain a marriage license, coincidentally, in Hoboken, and the first same-sex couple to marry, which was in Weehawken, back in 2013. You can look that up on YouTube whenever you want. Now, apparently, when the judge also ordered New Jersey to allow gay marriage after steps to approve it in the legislature had repeatedly failed. Now, 2 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court required all states to recognize same-sex marriage. Now, the episode in Fairview, which is a borough, again, in Southern Bergen County, right near Hudson County, sparked the director of the Latino Action Network Foundation and her team to review language on all the websites in New Jersey municipalities. Talk about a way to just kill time and squeeze out money from any grants that they're getting. Now, they found most towns use language that does not exclude same-sex couples, but about 6 use gendered language like bride and groom to describe applicants for marriage licenses, while 6 are, quote, in direct violation of New Jersey law by saying licenses are only available to opposite-sex couples. Now, the websites of Fairview, New Hanover, South Toms River, and Estelle Manor all incorrectly cited that marriage licenses are available only to opposite-sex couples and direct same-sex couples to seek civil unions. None of the towns respond to the New Jersey Monitor for comment. So, for example, Linden, down in, I believe, almost by Union County, their site contained the same language, but officials there changed it after the New Jersey Monitor contacted them. So apparently 20% of the towns, according to the New Jersey Monitor, had no information on their website regarding marriage licenses, according to the Latino Action Network. Now, Director De La Cruz pointed to paperwork in various counties that ask where the bride lives or were the records of the groom's mother. The language is demeaning and excludes LGBTQ residents, according to the director. Folks, let me just be very clear about this. This is an important story, and listen, I'm someone that's all for same-sex marriage. Listen, you have a right, if you're LGBT, to be as miserable as the rest of us heterosexuals that tend to be married, right? So God bless you. If you want to venture down that road, hey, all power to you. Now, I understand that it was codified back in 2015 after the Supreme Court ruled it constitutional, right? Now, here in New Jersey, I get it, folks, that we just got a Pride Month, thank the Lord. I mean, it was probably the longest 30 days of my life with all the virtue signaling and hashtagging. And no, it's not because I hate gay people, and it's not because I hate LGBT people. No, it's the contrary. As I've talked about on this show before, I don't think that, feeling attracted or liking someone of the same sex warrants any achievement or a monument being erected in your honor. I'm sorry, it's just not something to celebrate. I mean, that's your choice. That's whatever you are biologically. I don't think we should be, have to be doing cartwheels about it. But again, let me not digress here. When we talk about this story and why it's significant, I understand, folks. It generates heat, especially in election year. It paints conservatives and Republicans and people on the right as hateful and those that are intolerant. No, listen, these are towns that are concerned with other things. I don't want to quantify and prioritize it. Oh, it's more important to do this than the other. It's just not big on their radar, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't make the borough of Fairview in Bergen County hateful. It doesn't make these other towns that I just mentioned intolerant or bigoted or homophobes. It's just something that, you know what? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just something they choose not to focus on or didn't address. But I'm sure now they will, because we have people like Sophie Nieto Munoz and the New Jersey Monitor that will keep raising hell about it. I understand all that, folks. But again, in an election year, I'm sure they'll get to it. But when you can't fill up your gas tank, when you can't go grocery shopping, you have to really sort of be very resourceful with whatever disposable income you have or living paycheck to paycheck in this awful economy under this presidency, this incompetent presidency, no less. Folks, again, let's prioritize. I'm sure these municipalities will get to it, but if they don't get to it right away, it's not really the end of the world. If you can't get married right away, folks, especially those who are LGBT, trust me, you'll survive. It's not the end of the world, so stop acting like it is. Lastly, a shout out to Ron Zentlinger with the Jersey Journal for this very important update on a story that's been really brewing for years here in Hudson County, especially in northern Hudson. Now, a former Hudson County high school teacher pleaded guilty last week to sexually assaulting 2 girl students at both Union Hill and Dickinson high schools at the time, according to Hudson County prosecutor Esther Suarez. Now, Francisco Relpe, who's 45, of Hoboken, admitted to 2 counts of sexual assault before Hudson County Superior Court Judge Carlo Abad and will be sentenced this fall on September 30th. Now, conditions of the plea include being placed under Megan's Law and parole supervision for life, forfeiture of current and future public employment, and permanent restraining orders for both of the victims. Now, the victims were 17 at the time of the incidents. Now, the first victim reported being sexually assaulted in November 2019, while Relpe was a teacher at Dickinson High School in Jersey City. Shortly after Relpe's arrest, a second victim reported being sexually assaulted in 2004 while a student at Union City High School in Union City. Relpe, who spent time at McNair Academic High School in Jersey City, taught physical education, sex ed, and also was a softball coach. Now, a pair of lawsuits filed by 2 former Union Hill students against Relpe have been consolidated. In the lawsuit, the victims said that she was raped in spring of 2004 when she attended a polls night at the school, a school event where students vote on awarding titles to students such as Best Dressed, Most Popular, etc. The victims claim in the lawsuit that Relpe, one of the chaperones at the event, gave her a key and told her to go into the boys' locker room. Relpe, who was already there when she entered the locker room, then sexually assaulted her and told her to make sure that no one saw her as she left the locker room. The suit also states that, quote, Relpe would routinely and openly engage in sexually explicit and flirtatious conversations with female students at the school. Folks, if you know anything about Relpe, this is a story that thankfully is coming to an end. He's been known for years as hitting on very young female students and even having a sexual relationship with one of them. Coincidentally, if I'm not mistaken, I think he ended up marrying one of the girls that he was flirting with, I think when they were 17, 18, right out of high school. So this is a guy who is a bona fide creep, and he's a sex offender. And rightfully so, he's going to see his day in jail, hopefully. And I'm sure that on sentencing, he'll serve some prison time. This is unacceptable, folks. When we talk about teachers and administrators and people that deal with our youth, especially young women, and even young men too, right? Because it's, there shouldn't be, excluding female teachers that do the same thing. But when we talk about someone like Relpe, who has abused his authority and his position as a teacher, I think this is finally seeing some justice coming down the pike. I hope that this judge on sentencing day, coming up on September 30th, hands down the harshest sentence possible to send a message that this behavior isn't acceptable. And that's our show for this week. To check out all the excellent programming brought to you by the Hudson Media Group, check out their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com, as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv. Also, check out the Hudson Media Group on their YouTube page. Make sure you like them on Facebook and follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. Check out all the recent episodes of the 5-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. Episodes are free and available to listen to anywhere, anytime from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. Make sure you like this show on Facebook, folks, Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe. Also, make sure you like it on Instagram at Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe, as well as the podcast at Talking the Hudson. And check out my own Instagram and Twitter of the same handle at NoFilterUribe. Always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I'm Fernando Uribe, and as always, thank you so much for watching.